Welcome you all. In this video I will show you a math game. Some people call it guess game. Basically I will show you three types of guess game that you can play with your friends, colleagues and etc. I call such games as I know your number games. Without further ado, let's get started. At the beginning I want to say that this video is composed of 8 slides excluding this one. This is our first type of game and there are basically 6 steps. In the first step we just pick a number. Whatever we pick, in the second step we just multiply it by 2 and then we just add some number to it. And then we divide it by 2 and then we subtract the number that we picked from the beginning, from the result, the final result, and then we can say that what is left over. You can play this game with 1 people or more than 1 people. We're gonna just say a person to pick a number, and I put already some exercises here. Let's say you say your friend that you just pick a number from your mind and don't tell that number to me, and let's say that that person picks 3 as a number. And then you're going to tell the person that, okay, just multiply that number by 2. So in this case, the result is going to be 6. And then you're going to tell that person that, okay, just add 4 to that result for me. Okay, that number is important because that's going to be the key value that is going to affect the result. Okay, so because the number was 6 and if you add 4, then the result is going to be 10. And you're going to say that person, okay, divide that number by 2. And if that person divides 10 by 2, then the result is going to be 5. And then you're going to tell that person that, okay, now you need to subtract the number that you picked. The picked number was 3. And then if you subtract 3 from 5, the person is going to get 2 in his or her mind. And you're going to tell that person that, okay, I know what is that number, and that is 2. Let's look at the second case. Let's say that person picks 21. And when you say you multiply it by 2, then that person is going to hold 42 in his or her mind. And once you say, okay, add 10 for me to that number, and then the result is going to be 52. And you're going to say that, okay, divide that number by 2. And then the result is going to be 26. And once you say to that person, okay, subtract the number that you picked, which is 21 in this case, from the result, which is 26. And the person is going to get 5. And then you're going to say, okay, I know that is 5. So in this case, you can guess the number that is going to come up at the end of those calculations. And as a final one, let's say the person picked 54. Once you say multiplied by 2, the result is 108. And once you say, okay, add 26 for me to that person, and the person is going to get 134. And once you say, okay, divide that number by 2, and the person is going to get 67. And once you say, okay, subtract the number that you picked, which is 54, from the result, 67, and the person is going to get 13. And you're going to say that, okay, you know what, I know that number, and that number is 13. Well, I just put here 6 steps. Actually, you can just ignore the 6th step, because in the 5th step, you can say the person that, okay, I know that number, but I just put it here to say that exact in 6 steps, you can guess that number. And by the way, you can put your number here. Those places, I just leave them empty for you. And so basically that's it. As you can see here, you just say something, some number, and that affects the whole calculation, and then you guess the result. So there are 2 things that you need to consider, okay? And for that number that you add, there's an attention, and it says be careful about that number. And if it is an even number, if you say an even number to add this calculation, then you don't have to deal with the fractions in your calculations. I'll tell you what is the math behind all of those things after almost half of the video. Okay, this is the next step of the game. It looks like the first kind, but the steps are different. Again, we pick a number, as you can read here. Let's say person picked 5. And then we say that add that number, the next bigger number, which is actually a consecutive number, okay? Those numbers should be consecutive to each other. So if that person picks 5, then the next number is going to be 6, of course. And if that person adds that 6 to 5, then the person is going to get 11. And then you say that, okay, add some number for me to the results. Well, at this time, the number has to be an even number, like 7 in this case. So if the person adds 7 to the 11, the person is going to get 18. And then in the 4th step, we can say, okay, divide the result by 2. So if you divide, or if he or she divides 18 by 2, then the person is going to get 9. And you're going to say, okay, subtract the first number that you picked at the beginning from the result. So if you also subtract 5 from 9, then the person or you can get 4. And you can easily guess that, okay, the answer is 4. So there are two things also we need to consider. The first one is you add 7 and then you found 4. I will tell you the connection between those two numbers later. And there are the second case. If a person holds 20 in his or her mind, then after adding the next one, 21, the person is going to get 41. And once you say, okay, add 19 to that number, the total is going to be 60. And once you divide the result by 2, then we're going to have 30. And once you say, okay, subtract the number that you picked at the beginning from that 30. And in this case, the result is going to be 10. And you're going to tell the person, okay, I know your number, which is 10. Again, there is a connection between that 19 that you add to the calculation and the final result. If a person picked 50, 50 plus 51 is going to be 101, 101. And let's say at this time you tell, okay, add 41 for me. And then once you add 41, then we're going to have 142. And if you divide 142 by 2, we're going to have 71. And if you subtract the number that the person picks, which is 50, and then we're going to have 21 as a result. And you can say to the person, okay, I know your number, which is 21. So as you can see in this way also, there is a connection between the number that you add, 41, and the result, 21. And again, I will tell you what that is after a few slides. And this is the third type of the game that you can also play with your colleagues or friends or students or teachers, whoever you want to play with. And again, we just pick a number and then we just add that number, some number greater than you picked. For example, we have a case here. Let's say the person picks 5. And then you can say add 6 to that number and then add it to the number that you picked. In this case, it's going to be 11 plus 5, which is 16. And then you can say, okay, in the third step, divide the final number by 2. Once you divide 16 by 2, then we're going to have 8. And once you say, okay, subtract the number that you picked at the beginning from the number. So it's going to be 8 minus 5. The final is going to be 3. And then you can say that, okay, I know your number now, which is 3. And as you can see, there is a connection also between the number that you add and the final result. And we can make one more example in case 2 or in case 3, whichever you want to. Let's try it with the case 3. Let's say the person picks 60. And you can say, okay, add 20 for me to that 60 and then add it to the one that you picked from the beginning. So 20 plus 60, 80. 80 plus 60 is going to be 140. And then you can say in the next step, okay, divide the final result by 2, which is 70. Then you can say, okay, subtract the number that you picked from the beginning, which is 60, from the result, 70. And now the person is going to get 10. And you're going to say to the person, okay, I know your number, which is 10. And as you can see also here, we add 20, and then we got 10. Again, there is a relation between those two numbers that is just coming right after this. And you can extend the number of cases, of course. Okay, what is math behind all of those calculations? That's the point. Well, for the first type of game, let's say we pick x, okay? And we just multiply it by 2, so the number becomes 2x. By the way, all the numbers that we are working here, they are whole numbers, okay? To make it enjoyable, just try to do all of those in positive integers. So here, okay, we are in the second step right now. And once you say, okay, add some number, and that number should be an even number, okay? In order not to work with the fractions. So let's say it is 2a, okay? Any even number can be written as 2 times something. Let's say 2 times a. So if you add 2x to the 2a, and in the next step, if you divide it by 2, as you can see, it's going to be 2x plus 2a, and 2 is in common. So that means actually in the 2 parentheses, this is x plus a. And once you divide this by 2, these are gone. So x plus a will left over, which is this. And in the next step, once you subtract x, which you picked at the beginning, these are gone, and as you can see, just a will left over, and that is going to be the half of the number that you add here. So if you add 2a, the result is going to be a in all cases in this type of question. Okay, what is the math behind the second type of game? There is a similar situation here as well. Let's say the person picked x, and then add the consecutive number, which is x plus 1. So the final answer is going to be 2x plus 1 in the next step. And at this time, you should add an odd number, which is in this form, 2a plus 1. Okay? So if you add those two numbers, and as you can see, negative 1, positive 1, those are gone. So we have 2x plus 2a, which is, as I showed you on the previous slides, you can take it in 2 parentheses, and the leftover is going to be x plus a. And if you subtract x, which you picked from the beginning, still we're going to get a. So what you can say is, let's say you add some number, which is 2a negative 1, right? 2a negative 1. So if you add 1 to that number, okay, and if you divide it by 2, you're going to get the result. For example, here we add 7, right? Add 1 to that 7, which is 8, divided by 2, 4. So the final answer is 4. We add 19. Add 1 to that 19, which is 20. 20 divided by 2, which is 10. So the result is 10. So as you can see, the final number is related to the number that we say add that number. And let's take a look at the third one. If you look at the math here, we add x, and then we add some number that should be an even number, let's say 2a. So 2a plus x. We add this number to x, and then it's going to be 2x plus 2a divided by 2. Again, the same thing. Take into 2 parentheses, x plus a divided by 2, of course. Those 2, they are gone. And the result is x plus a. Once you subtract x, which you picked from the beginning, and the result is going to be a. So the final answer is a. So always, if you add 2a, then you're going to get a as a result. Okay, so you can just use those math games to play with your friends, to play with the people around you, to make life enjoyable. And thank you for watching. By the way, this is my YouTube channel. If you want to subscribe, you are more than welcome, of course. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in another YouTube video.